Hello, welcome to this section of the chemistry tutor. Here we're going to continue working with our net ionic equations and how they apply to acid-base reactions. Now that we've done the last section, we all understand what a net ionic equation is. Now we're going to tackle this problem using that knowledge. It says write a net ionic equation for the reaction. And notice the reaction is given to you in words and not as a chemical reaction, so you have to translate this, so to speak. You have nitric acid plus barium hydroxide yields barium nitrate. So what we want to do is write down the chemical reaction as we have it written here in traditional form. Then we want to translate that to what we call an ionic equation where everything's written in terms of ions. Then we're going to eliminate everything that's just hanging around. We call those spectator ions. And whatever's left over is what we call the net ionic equation. So what we need to do is figure this out. Nitric acid, we already presented that before in the section on acids. That is HNO3. And you should remember that after a while. It's not something I would say, hey, you have to memorize it now, but it's something that you will remember. So HNO3, it kind of rolls off the tongue. HNO3, an aqueous solution, that's a nitric acid. And then we have barium hydroxide. And you don't have to remember exactly what the equation is for barium hydroxide, but you know that it's going to have barium. And you know it's going to have hydroxide. And you also know that the charge on a hydroxide ion is -1. And if you look at the periodic table, the charge on a barium ion is +2. So if you do the crisscross, you should have a 2 here. So it's BaOH2. So really, to make it look a little better, I'll just write this a little bit closer. BaOH2. So there's 2 of these guys. So +2 going off like the crisscross rule that we have. And this is aqueous solution. And it yields barium nitrate is what we're saying. So again, you may not know exactly what that is off the top of your head, but you should know that it has barium in it because it has barium written there. And you know what the nitrate ion is, that's NO3. Right? That's a nitrate ion. Now if you look at the charge on a nitrate ion, that's also a -1 if you look at your table of polyatomic ions. And if you look at the charge on barium, from the periodic table, that is a +2, same as before. So if you do the crisscross, then this should be a 2 here, and the 1 comes down there. So that's barium nitrate. Okay? Now the other thing that's not really explicitly told to you in the problem is you have to look at this and say, well, what's happening? The barium is going and combining with the nitrate ion that's part of the nitric acid. So these two things are basically coming together, forming barium nitrate. So what's left over? I have my hydrogen ion that's still hanging around, and I have my hydroxide. Now I have 2 of them here. Okay, we'll figure that part out later, but I have some hydroxides here. Boom, they're